Well, I had my doubts about this party that I was invited to. Well, I guess I gotta talk about it. Well, to tell you the truth, this all started in November 23rd in 2014. You see, November 23rd, it's like Ethelonia's 4th of July and Thanksgiving rolled all into one. And there's lots of eating and drinking and going outside. Yeah, all of that. It's a very big holiday in Ethalonia. and and I was talking to Conway about it because me and Conway are still good friends. And I said, hey, you want to come and celebrate with me? Since it's your first time here, and I've been in Ethalonia for a couple years now. So he's like, and Conway said in his Wisconsin accent, yeah. And he said, yeah, I'll bring my wife too. And so the next day, on November 23rd, 2014, I met Conway at my new house and his wife. And his wife, yeah, she's pretty. She had about medium length brown hair. But she had really dark eyes. But they were big. They were just very dark. And I don't know. Something about his wife just made me have doubts about her. But she was nice enough. And I said, hey Conway, what's up? It's nice to see you. Hey, don't you have kids? Yeah, where are they? And he said, oh, yeah, well, they're back in North Carolina at Nag's Head with their grandparents. And I said, oh, are they your parents, or are they your wife Lisa's parents? And Lisa interjected and said, no, they're my parents. Conway's parents are dead. And Conway looked really embarrassed after that. And he said, yeah, that's true. And she said, yeah, well, you see, when he was 15, his mother died. And when he was 18, his father died. And after that, he moved to North Carolina, specifically UNC Wilmington. And yeah, that's where we met. And we got married in 2004. And we had our kids in 2005. We had twins. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's sweet. But Conway, aren't you 29? And if you had kids in 2005, does that mean you had kids at age 20? And he said, yeah, that is, which is why I gotta do whatever I can do to get a job, But I'm so happy I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I'm set for life, and so are my kids. Because, I still have some of the money that Markov, they settled with me. And also, I published a book recently about my experience. And yeah, it's done pretty well. I've got some royalty checks from it. And yeah, Conway was pretty well off, and I was too, truth to tell, because I was making money off my YouTube videos, and I had published 2 books, one about Fredbear's and the other one about my experience at St. Stephen's. And yeah, we were making money off that. And yeah, it was nice to never have to work again, but it was still a lot of trauma. And I mean, I'm very grateful for the money, but money doesn't necessarily fix trauma. You can be a millionaire and still be miserable. But I'm I'm besides that. And so since we were all three of us adults and we didn't have any kids, well, the kids were with the grandparents, we started drinking. And I was very concerned about Conway because Conway, he was taking an entire bottle of Kentucky bourbon and he was just downing it like the drummer of Def Leppard, Tommy Lee, in that one video. I was very concerned for him. And his wife Lisa said, "Oh, it's okay. He does this all the time." All the time? He does this all the time? And I straight up said to him, "Conway, you better slow down because you have kids. And what, do you not like want to live long enough to see grandkids?" And he kind of slurred a little bit and said, all right, okay, I'll stop drinking. But after after that, Lisa came over to him and said, "Hold on, Ethan, can I have a word with my husband?" And like a little kid, she dragged him by his collar and like dragged him outside. And she started I didn't hear much of it, but she was, as we say in the South, really fussing at him. She was not happy with him. And yeah, I don't blame him. But after that, she sat him back down, gave him some water, and yeah, he was well behaved for the rest of the night. And they even stayed at my house that night. And then the next day, they left. And that was about all I heard from him for the next about 3 weeks. And after that, Conway called me and said, "Hey, Ethan, I noticed you don't really have a girlfriend or a wife and I don't think any of your family lives here in Ethalonia. And hey, I got there's this big mountain in Ethalonia. It's called Mount God. And I just bought me a big estate up there. And I'm spending Christmas up here. And hey, you already invited me down there to your house. So for Christmas, why don't we get together for my house, I would love to have you there. We got plenty of room, and I would be honored if you came." And, well, I didn't have anything better to do, so I agreed. And on December 23rd, about a month after we met, I started driving up the mountain. And let me tell you, that mountain is beautiful. Like, once you get like up on the mountain road, you can look to the side and see all the beautiful trees, like pine trees, poplar trees, maple trees. And well, they were all bare then because all the leaves had fallen. But there was a light snowfall that gently coated the trees, and it looked just like a Christmas card. It was beautiful. But I kept on driving up there. And then I went to the address that Conway told me to go. And it was weird because it didn't look like a house. It just didn't really look like a house at all. And it was it looked like an airport. Like it had a hangar full like of a couple planes, and it had a couple helicopters, and it was like this big cabin, and behind it were hangars and a helipad. And I was like, does Conway live at an airport? And so I go in there and I said, "Hi, this is the address that Conway Parker gave me." And who are you? And this big fella, he was a little bit fat and had a lot of gray hair on his head and a big bushy mustache. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you're the guy Conway told me about. Yeah, give me a few minutes and I'll be up there. Get in the helicopter on the passenger seat. I'll drive you up there. Don't you worry." And I was like, "What? A helicopter ride?" I've lived in Ethalonia for like 3 or 4 years at this point, and I ain't never had to get in a plane, much less a helicopter before. I didn't even know the island was that big. But Mount God is a very high mountain. You see, it was Mount God. It was a volcano that rose out of the sea in 1604, and it erupted, and well, the rocks just cooled. It cooled over and made land. And after that, plants started to grow, and some indigenous people escaped from North Carolina, and they basically started planting trees and introducing new animals there. And yeah, that's how Ethalonia came to be. Anyway, I gather the couple of bags that I bought, and I put them in the back, and I get in the seat, and the big guy, he puts on his helmet with a little microphone, kind of like the things they see in movies, and like on the side of the helmet, it had some nickname. And the nickname, it said, Mooch. And I was like, what? And I asked him, like, why does it say Mooch? And he said, oh yeah, I was in the army. I fought in Vietnam. I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and that was my nickname, Mooch. Because when I got to Vietnam, I didn't have nothing. I was always asking people for money, for a toothbrush, for post stamps, and they started calling me Mooch, and that's what I started going by. And I said, "Oh, okay, Mooch." And so he starts up the helicopter and said, "Well, I do more than just fly people up the mountain. I also I give lessons. Yeah, I give flying lessons, and I give tours too." And I said, "Oh, well, thank you. I'll have to consider it, Mooch." And he said, "Well, my real name is Paul, but yeah, you can call me Mooch. It was mostly the guys in the army that called me Mooch. Of course, some of them are dead now. But, yeah, I guess you can call me Mooch." And so we start going up a little bit. And he said, "You are going to Conway's house, right?" Well, it's lucky that he has a clearing near his house. And the clearing has a path that does lead to his big house that he just bought up here. And I said, "Oh, well, how convenient of him." And he said, yeah. And then after that, I look up because I couldn't believe how high up we got. And I could see like the very tip of the mountain. And it was something I can't even describe how beautiful it was. And I looked down, and the mountain was just this very mystical, whitish, grayish color. And the air up there was so cold, but so clean and crisp. Oh, I could have stayed up there for I don't know how many hours. No wonder Mooch loved it so much up there. And he said, "Beautiful, isn't it?" "Yep, I bet you can see why I live here. I mean, I still love America. I lived in North Carolina for a long time, but I like it here. Ethelone is really not that different from America. Only inflation's not that big of a deal. And also, medical care also isn't very expensive. So yeah, we got that going for us. And of course, it's a nice country. And I just smiled and agreed. And he said, well, what's your name again, kid? And I said, Ethan. All right, Ethan. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I do not like the fact that Conway bought that house. And I was like, what? Why? And he said, well, it wasn't always his house. You see, it originally belonged to the president of a mining operation up here. And I said, really? Yeah. It was built in about 2000. The building started in 2007, but he started living there in 2008. And he lived there for a couple years, but he suddenly went missing in 2009. And yeah, he is presumed dead. And yeah, that's why he was able to get that house for so cheap. Because, like, that house, it's an over 40 room mansion. And he was able to buy the house and all the land for only about $350,000. Why? Because no one else wanted it. Because, well, the old guy, Jeremiah Cragg, he went missing there, and his body still hasn't been recovered. And I said, whoa. And I thought, this guy knows the tea. Okay, I want to listen to this guy. And he said, all right, it's good that you know, but, well, we don't know exactly what happened to old Jeremiah, but I got my theories. I'll tell you who it was. It was those savages, those cannibals that live up in the mountains. And I was like, what, cannibals? And he said, yeah, cannibals. You see, they broke up from the tribe, one of the tribes that lived here. And, well, basically, it's part of their religion to consume human flesh. And my jaw dropped, like, no way. Like, I was invested at this point. And he said, yeah, and they come out at night, and they are still very active. Okay? And he said, so, what time you want me to take you back? And I said, yeah, can you come and pick me up at the same place you dropped me off at about 2 or 3 o'clock on the 26th? And he went white as a sheet of paper. And he said, you mean you're staying here overnight? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, son, listen to me. As soon as the sun goes down, you go down. And you do not leave that house. You hear me? Stay in. You hear me? Stay in. All right. We're coming up on the landing site now. And then he dropped me off and said, remember what I said. Stay in. And I grabbed my bags and I just started to walk my way to his house. And The path to his house, it was right near the cleared out area where he dropped me off, the mooch did, and it was actually like a really cool path. It was like a hiking trail, like one of those hiking trails they have up in the mountains. And yeah, it was actually kind of beautiful, and there was a little chill in the air, and the snow gently fell. It was nice. And then the the trees cleared, and I saw his house, and I just looked up at it in admiration, like, wow, this place, it looks like a mixture between a a log cabin and a freaking castle. This place is awesome. And so I just walk up to the front door with a light on it, and I knock on the door, and Conway lets me in. And he's like, "Oh, Ethan, I'm glad to see you. I heard that helicopter about a quarter mile away, and I knew it was you. Come on in." And so he invites me in, and like that house was so warm. And he had a big fire going on in one of his fireplaces. And yeah, it was nice. And it was topped with like mahogany furniture. And it felt like walking into one of those really nice wooden hotels they have up in the mountains. And then he said, "Mia, come here. Meet my friend I was telling you about." And she walked over to me and introduced herself. And okay, I'll just tell you real quick. I was instantly encapsulated with Mia. She had beautiful black hair and a beautiful, perfectly round face. And very smooth skin. Oh, I still get a little, get shivers describing her. And she had a warm smile. And she said, "Hi, Ethan. I've heard so much about you. I really need to thank you in person for helping my brother." And Conway, he instantly saw the chemistry between us and said, "So, you want me to serve you a drink?" And so he took us to his kitchen that also had a bar in it. And then after that, I see about two like preteens walk in, and well, one, I knew they were twins, but they couldn't have been any more different. They both had brown hair, but one's hair was real disheveled and not brushed at all. And the other one's hair had lots of gel in it, and it was perfectly styled. And the other one the one with the messy hair had real baggy clothes, and the other one had real tight clothes. And Conway introduced the kids too. He introduced the one with the messy hair and the kind of messy look is Jake, and the one with the tighter clothes and the nice hair is Dylan. And yeah, there were actually some really cool kids, and they started talking about how they were going to beat me up in the snowball contest, and I was like, okay. And Conway served a drink for me and Mia, and yeah, it was nice. And afterwards, Conway's wife Lisa served us this, like immaculate roasted ham, and like, it was so good. And yeah, Lisa was a great cook. And afterwards, he said, all right, okay. Now that it's night, you need to go to bed, and don't worry. Tomorrow night, we'll do some more drinking before Christmas. All right. And so he takes me down to the room he assigned to me, and it was pretty nice. It was on the second floor, right down the hall from his. And, well, it had a nice window where you could see outside. And I don't know, some point in the night, I heard something, like some rustling sound right out my window. And so I looked out, and I swear I saw somebody very quickly dart away from when I could see him, from where I could see him. And it was like they were watching me. And, well, I mean, I had a feeling I was being watched, but I couldn't prove it to Conway or myself. So I went back to sleep. And the next morning, we woke up, and his wife served me some very good, like very thick maple honey bacon, and it was, oh, that was good too. And Conway said, all right, kids, come on, let's go. We're gonna have us a big snowball fight. And so we all run outside, and like, my God, for young kids, for 9-year-olds, they threw pretty good snowballs. And so I was fighting against the kids, and I was also throwing some snowballs at Conway, and Lisa and Mia were on my side. And, oh, it was nice. It was really nice. Even though it was so cold, I felt so warm. Like I could do that for another hour or so. But we were out there for a couple hours, and then Lisa went inside and made us all some hot chocolate and served it all to us. It was a good day. It was a good day. And after that, we all snuggled up and we watched Christmas Vacation, A Christmas Story, and The Polar Express, in that order. You know, while Lisa cooked dinner. And yeah, she served us some she served us like a turkey and some barbecue with some really good rolls and pies and cakes. Oh, it was good. It was really good. And it was about 9 or 10 o'clock that both Conway and Lisa, they still had a really good relationship with their parents, and, well, they both picked up their kids and carried them into bed. And then Conway came back and said, all right, you ready to bring on the booze? And so he bought out some Jack Daniels and some beer. And I asked for beer in a red Solo cup. And yeah, Mia thought that was funny, so I explained to her, "What, you don't know what the red Solo cup song is by Toby Keith? All right, don't worry, I'll teach it to you. Ba-do do 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 do. Now red Solo cup is the best receptacle for barbecues, tailgates, fairs, and festivals, and you, sir, do not have a pair of testicles if you prefer drinking from glass. Now, your red Solo cup is cheap and disposable. In 14 years, they are decomposable, and unlike my home, they are not foreclosable. Freddie Mac, kiss my ass. Woo! Red Solo cup. I fill you up. Let's have a party. Proceed to party. I love you, Red Solo cup. I fill you up. Let's have a party. Proceed to party. Yeah, and she thought that was just hilarious to no end. And yeah, And I was very concerned about how drunk Conway was getting. Once again, he was just downing the whiskey. And we all said, okay, you need to slow down, buddy. And he said, no. In fact, I'm going to get us some Christmas wine. And he did, and he poured it for all of us. And yeah, we drank us some Christmas wine. It was pretty good. And then Lisa got concerned and said, you know, Conway, you do realize you're going to have to get up tomorrow morning, right? Yeah, and you're going to have to, present the presents to your kids, right? And I don't think they're going to appreciate their dad being all sick and throwing up. And Conway just went, will you stop telling me what to do? You are not my mother. She died 15 years ago. You are not my mother. Do not tell me what to do. And she said, well, Conway, why don't you stop making me take care of you, and maybe I wouldn't tell you what to do so much. And Conway did not like that. He said, really? Really? I got you all this money, and now you're saying you gotta take care of me? And yeah, he got even angrier, and so did Lisa. She said, Conway, ever since you got back from St. Stephen's, you have always been just crying and wanting me to hold you, and you talk about it so much. You hardly ever talk about anything when we're alone. And you constantly want me to comfort you. But what about my comfort, Conway? What about mine? And yeah, he was furious now. And he said, what are you talking about? I got you all of this. It was all done by me. Me. That's what it always is in this relationship. It's all about me, isn't it? And she was just like, what are you talking about, Conway? What? Yeah, it is all about you, but it shouldn't be. It should be about me more. Because you can be a millionaire and still be miserable, Conway. And he said, oh, so you don't appreciate the fact that I got us millions. And she said, no, I don't appreciate you because you have become such a selfish dick. And before she could even finish, he backhanded her. So much so that it left a light red bruise on her. And she said, how could you? What have you become? And yeah, after that, her eyes welled up with tears, and she ran out that door, and she said, and Kame said, oh, yeah, don't worry, she'll be back. You're gonna come back crawling back home to Daddy. And I just looked at Conway and said, dude, that was not cool. And he just said, yeah, whatever. And so I went back out. So I went out there to get her. Me and Mia both went out there to get her. And that night it was cold. So cold that the wind just went down in your bones, even if you did have a heavy jacket on. And we were both yelling out, Lisa! Lisa! And then we saw her on this overlook just crying. And she was just crying her eyes out. And she didn't have a jacket, so she must have been freezing cold. And so we walked over to her and she said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No, no, stay back. I don't want you to see me crying." And then I said, "Okay, watch the ledge. Watch the ledge." And she said, "What ledge?" What? And then she, rather clumsily but horribly, she fell over the thin wooden rail. And then, as she fell over, she tried to grab the side of the mountainous wall, and it stopped her for only a couple seconds, and she fell. But she didn't fall straight down. She fell against the side of the mountain, scraping and just horribly scraping and screaming against the mountain. And she hit the ground with a big thud. And I looked over at Mia and I said, "Okay, we gotta call somebody." And so we ran back up to the mountain and we called 911, and they just explained to us that, well, we can only get there so fast because we're going to need to get up there with a helicopter, and we're going to need to investigate all this and see if we can find her. And and I thought, well, I looked at Mia, and she knew that I knew that the chances of his wife surviving this are pretty slim. So, all I could think about in that moment is, how were we gonna tell Conway? Oh.